Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Tessman from stampyourartout.com, and I'm excited to share with you my outside the box ideas that I created with the Ho 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 October 2022 paper pumpkin kit from Stampin' Up. These kits are delivered to me each month and contain everything that I need to make fun, creative paper crafting cards and projects. This October kit contains supplies for making 9 festive Christmas cards, 3 of 3 different designs. And like each kit, I've got my publication with directions, full color illustrations, details about the kit, and a link to access a how-to video so I can assemble the cards or project as shown. I've also got stamps and ink that can be used again and again even after the other kit consumables are used up. This October kit included an early espresso ink pad and this exclusive stamp set. The kits are a Stampin' Up! Product, so the colors, images, and supplies always coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these in the alternate projects I create for you today. You can find the items that I used listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look for links for learning more about paper pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you'll see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of the projects you're going to see today. I received a large clear block in my first paper pumpkin kit to use with all my future stamps. That tool and my scissors are all that I need for completing my kits as is. But you'll notice that I substitute that block for the ergonomic Stampin' Up! Blocks. I also use a larger version of the ink pad and some additional adhesive, such as my stamp and seal. You won't need these, but they're available products from Stampin' Up! And they're a bit easier and quicker for me to use while I demonstrate in my video. By the way, if you're looking for ideas for past kits, visit my website at stampyourartout.com, click on Paper Pumpkin in the top menu, and then choose Recent or Older Posts. I've been creating and sharing alternates since March of 2013 when Paper Pumpkin first began. I'm excited to create with you, so let's get started. On my table, you can see that I've got the elements of the kit separated out into the pieces that make each of the 3 cards. And what I've done is I've taken those pieces and I've separated them even more and combined them in different ways so that I can make 12 cards from these 3. I'm going to quadruple the cards that you can get from the kit. So with 3 cards you can make 12, and there's 3 sets of 3 in the kit. You normally make 9 cards, but if you quadruple 9, you get 36 cards. So to make those 36 cards, we are going to be taking the envelope pieces and every extra piece too, like this piece here that wasn't even used on the cards, and we'll be adding in envelopes and card bases. So like we'll be using Crumb Cake cardstock and Bermuda Bay cardstock, and then our basic white envelopes. You're going to need 36 envelopes, so a pack is 40, so that will do. And then you're going to need 18 bases of cards. 12 of those card bases are going to be Crumb Cake color, and the other 6 are going to be the Bermuda Bay color. They're all going to be cut and scored the same way. So we're going to take and do 2 of them at the same time. Put this into our trimmer so that we can score halfway between the 8.5 at 4 1/4 inches. And then we're going to rotate it and turn it this way so that we're bringing it to the 5.5 inch mark over here, and we're going to bring our cutting blade in and slice. So now we have 2 card bases that when folded in half are 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. We're going to do that to all of our card bases. Now I'm only going to be doing 1/3 of the kit because I want to use the other pieces to make other projects for you. So I'm only going to be converting 3 of them into 12, and then what you're going to do is, if you want to, is you're going to take and do that for your other 2 sets of 3 to get your 36 cards. Because we like to have lots of Christmas cards on hand, right? We don't want just 9. For our first 4 cards, we're going to be using these 2 card bases and this envelope. Now this envelope I've already cut. I've cut the sides off, and all you do is just put it into your trimmer really close to the edge and slice so that you're removing about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch of paper, and it just allows you to open it up, and you can see all the beautiful designer paper options with this. Now you see this stripe going through on the side? We're going to use that on one of the cards. And because we've kind of got this detail through here with, not really detail, but the overlapping pieces, you can see it more so on this side than you can on this side. And I sort of want to just not worry about that too much. I'm going to cut this piece so that it's including this white half instead of this white half, because I also need a larger piece of the stripe. So we're going to include this stripe, even though it's on this side of the fold, with this section. So we're going to go ahead and just cut to straighten that piece off a bit. And then we're going to measure, and what we've got here, let me grab my ruler. What I've got is it's going to at least be a nice 4-inch layer by trimming off about this much. And if you trim off less, if you go all the way to the top, you'd have even more to work with. And it's okay, because you don't need to be exact on this. We just need to have kind of like a 4-inch layer. We could even go smaller if we wanted to. We could do, say, 3 3/4 inches or whatever. I just want to have a little bit of white showing underneath. Let's start with 4 inches though and see what that looks like. So let's just set that piece aside for now, and let's set this piece aside, because this one I'm going to cut into 4 pieces that will be interior layers of cards. So I'm going to cut it in half at 4 1/4 inches, and I'm cutting it right on the fold, and then I'm going to cut each of these pieces in half. So half of 5 1/2 is 2 3/4 inches, and now I have some inside pieces for inside layers of the cards. This one I could use either side for the inside layer, but because we're going to be using this paper with the crumb cake cardstock, it'd probably be best to flip it over so you see a distinction. If we were using it with the Bermuda Bay cardstock, we could definitely have that look. But I am going to be using it on these cards, so let's just flip them all over. We have some white layers. This piece here is going to get cut down to 4 inches in this direction by 5 1/4. And then we've got these layers here. Now I really, really love the look of this whole piece here. So I think I'm going to start out by just trimming to the 4 1/4 inch mark and using this as a full layer on top of a full card. Okay, so like that. And then this piece, and we might trim it down, I'm not sure yet. I'm creating as we go. And then this piece here, I'm going to be putting the Santa, I'm going to be putting the Santa and this white square down here. So I really only need like a thin strip of it. So I think I'm going to cut it to 3 inches. I think that should work. This is excess. These pieces are extra. And then let's just start creating and see how far we get with these 4 before we have to trim anything down. These pieces again will be interior pieces for writing on the inside of our cards. You don't really need that on crumb cake because crumb cake is light enough, but I think it just kind of gives it a formality. Okay, so let's start with this one. This one is pretty darn simple. We're going to pair this one up with the Ho 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 vellum layer and the words. And then we're also going to add in our little Santa head. And I love that there's a stamp that matches this Santa head. So let's go ahead and grab that. You can see that's going to get stamped on like that. And we're also going to use the stars. So I'm going to prepare those pieces. By the way, even though I told you that these are extra or excess, don't toss them. In fact, I've already found a use for this one on one of these 4 cards that we're going to create first. All right, here we go. Early Espresso ink pad. I'm using the same color that you get in the kit, just using the larger version as I had mentioned earlier. We're going to stamp that, and because we have white on white here. It's kind of hard to see. Let's just go ahead and take this piece, just a darker piece, and we're going to hover over the top and stamp it down. And because I kind of stamped it at an angle because I didn't want to put my head right in the camera, mine's a little off. So you'll want to hover right over the top of yours, or you can have this off-center kind of look like mine, which still looks pretty good. It looks homemade, right? Okay, so now let's take and add the Ho 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 to the vellum layer. Vellum looks so good against darker cardstock. When you add it against white, it sort of disappears. So crumb cake, you know, the cherry cobbler color, anything that's a little bit darker than white is going to make that vellum stand out. We'll add that with the glue dots from the kit. Now you'll see I did not add the glue dots completely on the back side. There's a little bit sticking out, but we can solve that problem because this adhesive you can fold. So we're going to pull the backings off, and then we're just going to bring it back over onto itself, and it's going to allow us to add some adhesive to this pretty darn quickly with the glue dots from the kit. Another kind of adhesive that you could use is like a glue, just because this is a really, really skinny sentiment die cut piece here. It's kind of hard to do it with any other kinds of adhesives. And you don't need to put adhesive all over the whole back. So what I did with the glue dots this time is I just put them in places where it was thicker, where the red cardstock or the cherry cobbler cardstock was. I put it in places where it was thicker, but I also put it in places where you wouldn't see the edge of the adhesive, because if you flip it over, you're not going to see it peek through, even though it's right behind the vellum there, showing through the center of that loop on the O. It's definitely not going to be noticeable. I like to put things a little off center. You certainly could put this in the center of your piece, of your layer. You don't need to do these cards exactly like I do, right? And then we're just going to stamp some stars. And this guy we'll put up onto dimensionals. Now because this is more of a coated type of cardstock, you'll want to let that sit for a little bit before you touch it. You can even take and blot the ink. It's going to be a little bit lighter in color than it would be if it was put onto the intended layers to stamp on. The Stampin' Up! Kits have a slightly different kind of cardstock to them than our regular cardstock. And so because there's that coating, sometimes the ink doesn't soak in as easily. So there's our layer. We're going to go ahead and add some adhesive to the back side. I'm going to use my seal adhesive now, just a little bit easier and quicker to use. And we'll add that to the front of the card, and then we'll add an inside layer. Super cute, super simple. And you can certainly add another sentiment to the inside, so ho ho ho, and then you could put like Merry Christmas or whatever you want in there. We're just going to move on to the next card. So for the next one, we're going to bring in the large snowflake. And yes, I really do like this whole thick layer through here. I'm not going to trim it down in either direction, so we're just going to add this directly to the front of our card. I'm putting lots of adhesive on here because I don't want it to peel up since it's so close to the edge of the cardstock. I don't want it peeling away. Then we'll add this with a glue dot from the kit. Now there are two sides to it. If you want the iridescent side, make sure that you put the adhesive on the opposite side. I was going to add more glue dots and I thought, no, sometimes it's fun to see a little bit of a shadow if it peels away like that. So, but you can certainly add more adhesive if you'd like to. Very simple card. What I've done is I've mounted the longest stamp onto the D-size block at an angle diagonally like this, and I'm just going to ink up the "'Tis the Season" portion of this stamp. And I already mentioned that I sometimes create as I go. That's what I'm doing this time. So as I was stamping this down, I thought, oh, I really want that snowflake to move. So I placed it in the center instead. And that to me looks a little bit more balanced. All right, next card. Oh, wait, we got to do the inside. Now, if this looks plain, don't worry about it. We are going to add some embellishments at the end. For the next card, remember we trimmed the envelope, but we didn't trim the sides over here. So we're going to do that now. Bring back our trimmer. So what I'm doing really is I'm trimming off where the paper is connected here. Okay, do you see that? So we can really just cut right at that point. We don't have to worry about making it even on each side. Just as long as we've gotten rid of that. Now, if you've trimmed your envelope base a little differently, that's totally fine. So now you can see I'm trimming off just a little bit extra on this side. We're going to go to 5 1/4, and that will make our layer 4 by 5 1/4, which gives us about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And that's going to be added here. This is where the fold was from the envelope, but because it's connected right with the design, it's almost like it's part of the design. I think it looks great. So I'm just adding a little extra adhesive here because this is again where the envelope connects to itself, onto itself when it's formed, and we don't want those pieces to come loose. All right, the next piece is this green one, and I'm just going to trim it so that we have like a banner from it. So I'm going to grab my snips, my paper snips, and I'm going to trim. Actually, I'll show you how easy it is. You just trim right to the center like that, and then you're going to aim from corner to center and aim from corner to center, and that way you have an instant little banner piece ready to go. That's just going to sit right above here, and then the joy will sit above that. We've got a thin space here, so you can try to use this adhesive, or you could use the glue dots from the kit, which might be a little bit easier to manage. Because my word is going to end off to the right, I'm going to start with the furthest to the right letter. And you can certainly make these whimsical too by kind of tilting them back and forth. So instead of placing it like that, I could have maybe angled it like that. In fact, let's just do that. How fun is that? And you notice too that I used the edge of the dimensionals to get that skinnier piece right through there. And this is where I brought in that scrap that I said was scrap before. We're going to trim this piece down, and we're actually going to trim this piece down. We're going to trim that into 3 1-inch pieces. This is already 3 inches tall by 2 3/4. So we're in this direction. We're going to cut 1, 2. We can save these for another card. And this piece we're going to trim to 5 1/2 inches. That way it will extend from edge to edge, just like this piece. Let's go ahead and put adhesive on the back side. On either long edge, we want to put adhesive really close to the edge because we're going to grab up this piece. With that adhesive, we're just going to attach it just like that, so it's connected to the base. In fact, let's just do some on the side here too, since it's going right to the edge of the cardstock. And any extra amount that's sticking over the edge, just trim it off. Okay, I've already pre-stamped another Santa, so we're going to make our card look like that. Let's put this piece on the inside while I think of what I want to stamp there. I decided to choose Ho Ho Ho, and then we have this fun Merry here. So I'm going to put Merry Christmas on the inside, Ho 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 on the outside. when I ink up and stamp the word Merry, I'm going to line up the bottom of the M with the bottom of the Y when I stamp it on the inside here. And I'm going to slightly put it off to the left, upper left. And then with the word Christmas, because it's a rectangle, it will sit right underneath the M and Y area here and be a little bit more centered, kind of off to the right a bit, which will give that a really fun look. Okay, on the outside, we're going to connect the beard to this white piece. Actually, maybe I want the shadow. I want the shadow. So we're going to just tape this down straight. And I'm going to hover my Santa over the top so I know where it's going to go. Ho, ho, ho. And we'll put him on with a couple dimensionals. I'm going to bring in some embellishments now, and these are really, really fun pearls that came out in our seasonal mini catalog. And they are called our festive pearls, and they have 4 different colors. We have the gold, we have the silver, we have this color here, which is kind of a light blue, bluish green, like a pool party color, and then this pinky red color. And the colors go super well with the contents of this kit. So for this one, let's just put on a few of the reddish pearls. That looks good. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Let's fancy up this one a bit. I already started stamping. I did a very, very light early espresso stamp onto this piece here. And so what I did was I inked up my stamp, and then onto some scrap cardstock, I just stamped it. And you could do it on your grid paper too, but I want to keep it white for the video. I stamped it twice, and then without inking up again, I just stamped it onto my card base. I'm going to put one more on there, so we have 3 of them. And then I'm going to fill them in with some of the silver pearls in the center. Now I already have a silver pearl in the center of one of them, as you can see, the middle one. So that just made that card a little bit more fancy. On the inside, so 'tis the season, we're just going to do the Merry Christmas once again. Two cards done. Now on this one, I think I'm just going to put a little pearl right on his nose. So we'll use one of the pinkish red ones. His nose is already pinkish red. Let's just accent that. And on the inside, I've also stamped the Merry Christmas. And this card is already complete. I added some silver pearls. And on the inside, 'tis the season to be jolly. Let's work on the next 4. This time we're going to use the Bermuda Bay cardstock base. I'm just closing that up temporarily so I don't accidentally get my pieces inked up. So we're going to use the Bermuda Bay base on these 4 cards. Let's start with a couple bases. We're going to use the envelope that's got the stars on it, and we're going to use the base that has the light blue. This one, again, we're going to cut down into pieces for the inside layers. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is swap them out, because this layer here was going to be on the outside front, but maybe we can use that on the inside also. So let's start with this top though. We want this to go into our trimmer this way and go up to about the 4 1/4 inch mark here. And then we're going to slice. And that's going to give us a piece that is going to go this direction on our taller card like that. So we're going to trim off an even amount from each side because we do have a curve here. So because this piece is just over 5 1/2, it's 5 3, looks like 5 5/8, and we want to trim it down so that we have 4 inches. That's going to give us 1 3/8, so about a little over 3/4 of an inch off of each side. We're going to go a little bit over the edge of that 3/4 inch mark. Same thing on this side. And actually, let's just bring this over to the 4-inch mark now. We have a slight curve on top. We have a little bit of adhesive from our envelope, but you know what? I love that look, and as long as no one licks your card, it's not going to get sticky. It just has a nice little shine on there, almost like it was meant to be. So that's going to go on the front of one of our cards. I was going to put this across the front of the other, but I think I really, really want to use this. So I'm going to cut this in half this direction. That's going to make it 2 1/8 inch. So one piece will be on top, one piece will be on the inside of that card. And then I can use this for my inside layers for the other card. So I've got these 2 inside layers, and then what I think I'll do is we'll just trim this little curve off. And now I'm trimming off the edges where you can see the overlap of the card, of the papers. And that's about 5 1/4 inches. Half of that is just under 2 3/8, so 2 5/8 of an inch. And then we can trim off these little edges here too. We could probably use them as sentiment layers if we want to. Just didn't want the creases there. So now we have a couple inside layers that are blue and a couple that are white. I'm going to make those as scraps to throw away. These again could be sentiment layers. We'll just set them aside for now. And then these 2 pieces, I guess, I'm going to set them over here just in case. All right, let's start with this one. This one's pretty fun. It's got a snowflake and then this banner piece here. And we're going to cut this snowflake in half. We just want 2 pieces. One that's going to be able to tuck under the top and one that's going to be able to tuck under the bottom. So let's grab our adhesive and do the same thing that we did when we were adding that strip of cherry cobbler. We're just going to go really close to the edges here. On the top and on the bottom. So pretty. And we'll stamp that. And we're not going to stamp it with words. We're going to stamp it with this fun Santa and reindeer image. And again, we'll do the embellishments at the end, but let's just kind of get the base of the cards going here. For this one, we're going to make the Santa and reindeer go across the top here. And with that curve from the envelope, it just really adds to our Santa image here, doesn't it? And that'll get applied to the front here. And we've got this extra layer that has the stitching around it, which will mount up onto dimensionals here. And did you notice with my math, I had already cut 4 inside pieces and I only needed 3. I could have kept this one together because remember we used the other half of that front on that one. Oh well. Rachel loves math, but sometimes she makes mistakes. All right, next card. This time we'll angle our Santa. And instead of having the frame on top like that, I'm just going to use it as a layer like that. And sometimes I have to stop the camera because I change my mind. I decided I didn't need that extra little section hanging down below the frame. So we're going to trim this up to 3¼ inches in this direction because it is 3 inches this way. So we're going to make it 1/4 inch longer. We can save that piece and just layer it onto our frame. So we have an 1/8 inch frame piece all the way around this time, instead of just on the side and top. This piece now can become a sentiment layer that goes across. But let's add this with dimensionals. And if you're worried about this adhesive sticking down, you can grab side pieces here. So pretty. Okay, we have a couple snowflakes that we can add too. And I'm thinking right there would be good. So we'll add those with the glue dots from the kit. I keep thinking that each card I'm making is my favorite. And my favorites keep changing. Make sure that your snowflakes stay within the outside edges of your card. Okay, and now we can stamp this piece. I've stamped it off to the left. I'm just going to cut straight up here and then into the middle and into the middle. And we're going to add dimensionals behind that. Now, because there's not any dimensional back here, it's just in the corners and on the two sides that I messed up on, I can put a dimensional right here and even like right there. And it will pop that section up when the card is open. But when the card is being mailed, oops, let's move it over a bit here. When the card is being mailed, it will push down and become one layer of dimensionals. Does that make sense? So there's dimensional, there's one, and then the two there. So it won't be 2 dimensionals high in any one spot. That'll help for mailing. Let's put an inside layer in there. And actually I think I'm going to use one of these instead because they're closer to that shape. And let's do the 4th card. The 4th card, I'm bringing in some of that candy cane-ish colored paper. And we're going to stamp the word ho 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 in the center of this 1-inch piece that we had cut from that rectangle. Okay, we're going to stamp the Santa. So he's kind of tilted up in this spot here. Put the dimensionals a little bit in, overlap just slightly, bring it right to the edge here. And then on the inside, we're going to place this piece so that it's horizontal and it's centered right here. I'm going to close it up. I've already put adhesive on the back. And now I'm going to trim off this extra amount here along the edge. We're going to use this long phrase that says, "'Tis the season to be jolly." And I think I'm going to add a couple stars. I'm going to use these as embellishments, so I'm just going to fold them onto themselves like that. Make some 1/2-inch strips here. And I'm using a post-it note, post-it tape here, or a flag, whatever you want to call those things, just to hold it in the trimmer so it doesn't move when I place the arm of the trimmer down. I wanted a little bit more blue, but I don't want to have the adhesive part of the envelope showing. So I decided to go in a little bit further, but you know what I can do is just fold it this way and trim it up. And then on the outside of this card, I think we'll do the same thing with some of these pearls. Let's just go ahead and add them into the mix. And maybe we'll just add a couple that are red. And when the card gets mailed, because the dimensionals are right in that section, these pearls won't add any extra height. For this card here, I think I'll just add some gold. I think for this one I'm going to add some silver right in the center of the snowflakes. That one is going to be sitting on top of a dimensional, so be careful when you make yours so that you don't have adhesive right underneath that little section there, unless you don't mind if there's a little bump. So I think we'll use that word holly jolly. That's a fun one. Goes with Santa. And we'll do Christmas underneath. Holly jolly Christmas. Santa Claus is coming to town. Holly jolly Christmas. Did the same thing on this one with a little silver in the middle of the snowflake. Okay, let's do the last four. Our last four will be on crumb cake cardstock, and all I need from this envelope are the two strips here. So I'm going to trim out those two strips. Well, I need other parts of it too, but just for the fronts of the cards, I only want the two strips. So I'm just trimming those out. They're about 1/2 inch tall. I'm trimming first along the score line, and then I'm moving my piece over to the 1/2 inch mark here and trimming. So now I have a couple borders for some cards. These are some leftover pieces now. And remember, we had that other envelope piece plus this square from another envelope, right? We had all these pieces. So we can use these for inside layers for our cards when we're done. These pieces are so fun. They can be used as stencils, and not that you need to add more tools or inks or whatever, but I want to just show you a fun technique, and then you can choose whether you want to do that or not. So because I don't want to have this side inked up, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use the opposite side, which will help me actually line up my image with the edge of my card. So this is where my card is opening. I'm just going to line this up, and I'm going to use some sticky notes, these larger sticky notes, to hold it in place, because then it covers up this portion of the cardstock, which I do not want to have inked up. I'm using crumb cake cardstock, or crumb cake cardstock, but I'm also using crumb cake ink here, and I'm just going to rub my blending brush around on the surface, and I'm going to use my scrap paper. Oh, all right, I'll go ahead and use the grid paper to kind of remove a little excess ink there. And then I'm going to come in and gradually just add a very faint amount of ink. Now, because I don't have any adhesive on this side, I can peek and see if I like it. It's very pretty, isn't it? We're just going to add a little bit more, and I think I'm going to make it dark, make it darker here, and make it gradually come lighter there. So we'll just put more ink on this side. Oh, I love that. Okay, so let's peel that up and away. So you can choose to have that sort of look, or you can do the design with just the blank side. Just wanted to show you that idea. You can also do that sort of stenciling with this piece. So let's bring back the early espresso ink, and this time when we stamp our Mary, we're going to tilt it in the other direction. So we've got our 1 inch tall piece that we had left over from our rectangle, and we're going to bring it to the right and stamp it down so it's tilted upward this way now. We'll bring in our Christmas And we can add that right in the lower left corner. So it all fits on there. Now we're going to flip all these pieces over and add adhesive to the back side. Because this one is so narrow, I'm going to put it right next to my other piece, and that way I can put adhesive over both of them at the same time. Peel them away from each other. And again, you could do a banner cut on the end if you'd like to. And now this is ready for embellishing and for an inside layer, but we'll do that later. Let's go ahead and add some dimensionals to the inked up side of this. And I think I'm going to cut mine off the edge here because I don't quite want a full one in those corners. They don't fit as nicely. And just those 5 dimensionals will help pop it up and bring it away from the front portion of our card. So there's that. We're going to bring in the Mary and this extra little strip from the kit and stamp Christmas on that one. And there's that one. The last 2 cards involve lining up this snowflake image with these pieces. So we've cut these strips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in from the right, and I'm going to line this snowflake up with the little center section down here. Let's see if I can do that. So you can see the white coming through that portion of the snowflake. We're going to do the same thing with this piece. We're going to do the 3rd one in and the 4th from the left. And the sticky notes are just helping to hold it all in place. Now on this one, do you see this shape? This lines up perfectly with the snowflake image. Crazy, crazy awesome. And of course, I'm going from the side. So I'm going to shut the camera off and stamp the rest of them so that my head is right over the top of the paper. And a few of them I got spot on, but others I did not. But that just means that it's handmade, right? So let's just go ahead and work with this piece for now. This is going to be added to the front of our crumb cake base with dimensionals. And then we'll bring in one of these pieces that we had cut previously. We're going to use the blue side because we're also going to be using the bluish colored pearls on this card. So I've stamped the ho 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 off to the left, and that allows me to do a banner cut. I think I'm going to go in a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch in here, just to make it a little bit shorter. Now when I add dimensionals to the back of this, I'm actually going to do it right on the card here, on this one and on this one. That way, any adhesive back here is not going to make this stick down flat onto the card. But do you see what I did again? I was able to take and make this piece pop up higher in appearance, but yet again there's only 1 layer of dimensional underneath it instead of 2 because the other one's right up here. Let's put adhesive on the back of these 2 strips. So I've got sort of a 1/16 of an inch between them, and what I did is I made these, they look like flowers, but snowflake centers kind of zigzag. They're not lined up with each other in this direction, right? And because we have it off the edge, we can go ahead and take our snips and just trim using this method. We're going to stamp the sleigh and reindeer. Okay, now we need to embellish and put insides on our cards. So as I'm looking at the pieces of envelope that we had left over, I'm thinking this one would be good just to cut a strip from and add to the inside of that piece. This one is bluish, and so it would definitely go with this one here. And then we have these two larger ones. So I'm going to add this one flipped over because it's got these really faint crumb cake lines on there. It's really pretty. We'll do that one with this one. And the same thing with this one. We'll add that there. Let's go ahead and start trimming. So I was checking to see how close the adhesive was on these pieces, and I'm just kind of trimming it in a bit so that I can take off a little bit of that, but still maintain a large enough piece. We'll trim off the rounded edge. And then what we have here is a piece that is 4.5 inches tall, and that card is 5.5 inches in the middle, so 4.25 would make this one be 3.25. So we want to make it a 3.25 by 4.5 inch piece, and that would give us an even border all the way around on the inside of that. This one we'll just go ahead and use the full length of it, but we'll cut it to 5.5 inches because it's a little beyond that right now. And this one's just fine as is. For this one, I think I'm just going to stamp a snowflake in the center. And we'll do the trick of stamping it tilted to the right this time. We didn't have enough room. We'll just put it right to the edge. What is that? That'll look good. Right to the edge. Sort of. I missed a little bit of ink and I have it too high. But that's okay. You guys got the idea, right? Okay, let's add some embellishments. So on this one, I just added 5 gold pearls. On this one I added 4 red ones, reddish ones. On this one I added 4 reddish. And then on this one I added the bluish greenish color. These are the pieces that I did not use. We got 12 cards, you guys, out of 3. And then these are the envelopes that you would want to invest in. There you get 40 in a pack. You only need 36, and they fit the cards perfectly. Another product that you may want to invest in to make multiple cards is to get the pack of wonderful snowflakes. You get 24 of these in one pack. They have the same sheen as the paper snowflakes that are in the kit, and they have a pretty similar style to them, not too far off, right? We did it. We turned the supplies for 3 Paper Pumpkin kit cards into 12. We have quadrupled the kit. You can get 36 total if you do this with all of your card supplies for the 9 cards. And this is what you can get. Yay! Now I have more ideas, but I cannot fit them into this video because we already had a lot of content. So if you are watching this when the video got released on October 21st, 2022, just give it a couple days. I'm going to post a second video a couple days later too. If you're watching it later, you can look in the description of either video and it will link to the one that coordinates with the one that you're currently watching. Now that you've watched my video, I hope you can see that there's so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so much more. Want to give these paper pumpkin kits a try? They're just $23.50 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included. You control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. And by clicking on my personalized link below and starting your subscription with me as your demonstrator, you'll have access to my exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas too. What's in store next month? A coordinating kit titled From the North Pole. This November paper pumpkin festive kit includes supplies to make 12 fun, sparkly 2-inch by 3-inch gift tags, 4 of 3 different designs. Do you need some unique Christmas packaging to round out your gifting? We've got you covered also with our exclusive optional North Pole Sacks add-on product sold separately. 12 4x6 food-safe paper bags featuring a festive crumb cake design that coordinates with both the October and November paper pumpkin kits. But of course, I'll show you how to make more than that, so make sure that you have an active subscription by November 10th. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. To access paper pumpkin kit ideas that I'll share in the future, be sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and to my website because I share even more each month in other special blog posts. In fact, click on my website link below so that you can access the visual supply list and view close-up photos of all that I've shared today. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye.